Welcome back. You're listening to Real Talk Texas. I'm your host, Steve Hakes. We're heard every Sunday here at noon. I hope you're enjoying your 4th of July weekend and kind of thinking about retirement. So we brought in Carl Howe of ValTrust Capital Partners to talk about retirement and talk about being smart about what you're doing. And if you're listening out there and you really haven't got a person that you're working with, or you want to have a second opinion, another set of eyes to look at your retirement, if you're already retired or getting ready to retire, you really need to have somebody on your side. And so you want to go to retirementfoundationgroup.com and you can find Dr. Carl Howell there. You can also go to realtalktexas.com. He's a regular contributor on our show here, a real expert when it comes to financial planning. And so, Carl, we were talking before the break. We were talking about 401ks and how to make sure you're maximizing income. And we were talking about a little bit about cost of living and how you got to make sure that, you know, you may need $30,000 a year right now, or $50,000 a year to live on. But if it's $50,000 now and in 20 years, and we're all fortunate enough to live that long, that $50,000 is a lot less in 20 years. So how do you work that?
Well, I think, we look at money in two categories. We got red money and we got green money. Red money is going to be money that you put into the stock market. Maybe it's going to be in mutual funds, exchange traded funds, index funds, stocks. It can be into various categories. And then your green money is money that you put in the bank. It's limited growth, okay, because you have limited interest. In fact, sometimes I think the banks want to charge us to keep our money there. But
easy.
Okay, but that's right. Sorry.
That's right. I work for a bank.
Okay. Anyway, so what happens is that you've got money in CDs, and we run into that a lot. We see a lot of our clients have large CDs, and unfortunately, if you talk about inflation, well, if you got a CD that's paying you 1%, and then you've got a tax bracket of 21%, well, you're not making even a full 1% because you got to pay taxes on that interest. So, and inflation right now is roughly about 3% a year. So you're actually going backwards. So what you want to do is you want to put your assets, move them into more of a category, what kind of a yellow category. We can put it into a managed account, watch it, and maximize its growth, and then also even look at some guaranteed income accounts that we can put your money into. So we look at structuring an income stream that you can never outlive, where that can actually increase in value if you ever need long-term care, which 7 out of 10 people are going to need in retirement, as well as put so much into a yellow or red platform, if you will, that's managed and maximize it according to our clients' risk analysis. We do a risk tolerance on them. We have to determine how many years they've got to let that money grow, how much they're going to need in retirement. So there's a lot of structures that go into analyzing it.
How early would you recommend someone coming in and meeting with your firm? When they're in their 40s, 50s, where do you think they really need to engage?
Well, it used to be that we strictly work with retirees, but we're finding now is that pre-retirement planning is even more important because baby boomers, like you said, they're going to live longer. And their assets need to be there. So we're seeing people come in their early 40s. Okay? Most of our clients are probably 55 to 65, but we're seeing people in their early 40s, and I congratulate them. The sooner you get started, the sooner you've got a head start on getting that retirement. And with that much foresight, if somebody can, thinking about it in your 40s is a great thing. Unfortunately, a lot of people wait till they're in their late 50s, early 60s, and it's catch-up time. But that's okay too, because we're gonna work around developing a plan that's geared toward them individually.
Well, that's one of the things. I mean, my oldest son Scott's working right now. He's 28 years old, and first one of the things he asked me when he was signing up for his benefits, he goes, "Dad, what about this 401k? What should I do there?" And I said, "Maximize it." He said, "Well, I need so much to live on." I said, "No, you don't," because bottom line, my father told me when I was young, and I wish I would have held to it because I used a lot of that money to invest in businesses and things. But he always told me if you can save 10% of your gross income all your life, working life, you'll never really worry about at the end of the day. And so I try to teach my kids that. And so as they're getting out in the working world, I think it's never too soon for you to start a 401k through your company if it's available. If it's not, then you got to figure out a way to set up something yourself through a IRA or something like that each year.
Right.
But it's so important to do that and not touch it. Really not, as far as withdrawing it for whatever reason, unless you absolutely have to, because retirement comes pretty quickly.
It does. And even in doing that, though, Steve, you can take all the precautions, you can do everything right, you can have a nice, adequate, and then something comes along and takes the wind out from under your sails, such as a long-term care risk. We mentioned 7 out of 10 people in retirement are going to need long-term care. Average cost in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, $4,000 to $7,000 a month. Medicare's not going to pay for it. Who's going to pay for it? You got to pay for it. And where's it going to come from? It's going to come out of your retirement savings. So what we try to do is protect a portion of their assets by setting them up into a program that's going to give them more long-term care benefits tax-free when they need it. And so we look at that, and because in the past, when I got started in this field over 15 years ago, one of the things I specialized in was long-term care planning, and we looked at long-term care policies. Well, the problem now is that long-term care policies are getting astronomical in the price. People can't afford them, or they can't qualify to get them in the first place. Their health isn't what it should be. And then the price goes up. So people are saying, well, I'm putting all this money into this policy. What if I never use it? Well, you lost it, right? There's a way that you can actually structure a portion of your assets to go into either an annuity or a life insurance policy that's going to be there for you or your children, okay? And what happens is it can pay out income for long-term care, or you can use the death benefit tax-free if you need it for long-term care, and if you don't need it, it's going to go to somebody.
No, wait a minute, I'm confused.
Okay.
So I'm not dead yet.
Right.
But I still I'm using my death benefit for my long-term care?
Absolutely.
You can do that.
You can do that. In fact, it's in 2006, Congress passed a bill called the Pension Protection Act. It went into effect in 2010. It allows retirees to put money into a life policy or, like I said, an annuity that will provide either tax-free benefits or additional benefits in retirement. And if they're tax-free, you're taking a portion of your death benefit and you're using it if you need it. And if there's something left in that death benefit when you pass on, it still goes to your heirs. So you haven't lost anything, but you put so much in and you made it worth so much more to protect your assets overall. And essentially what happens, you're using a portion of your assets to protect all of your assets.
That sounds like a great strategy. We need to get together outside the show.
Okay.
So if you're just tuned in, you're listening to Carl Howe. He's with Valtrust Capital Partners. His website is retirementfoundationgroup.com. That's retirementfoundationgroup.com. You want to go there and take a look, and there's lots of little videos, 2-minute long videos, to really give you some education on some of the things that his firm can do for you. And right now they're giving free consultation if you come in to talk about your Social Security strategies we talked about earlier in the show. And so make sure you reach out to Valtrust Capital Partners at retirementfoundationgroup.com. I think it's going to be a great thing for you, our listeners out there. We try to bring people like you, Carl, on the show so our listeners really get real talk from real experts so they can really find out what they need, the information they need, and from people that are reputable. So thanks for joining us on the show. We're going to talk more in later segments. We're going to get into some other overall retirement strategies. If we get time, we're going to talk a little bit about reverse mortgages, something that I do that can kind of help if someone who, like you said earlier, is house rich but cash poor. They've got an asset there that they can turn into cash, and there's some strategies around that. So we're going to talk about that in the next segment just a little bit. We'll touch on it. We're not going to get too deep on that. But let me ask you also, as far as your firm goes, when you're bringing people in, I really want to drill into the next segment, especially, but we can kind of talk a little bit now. The first meeting, when they meet with you, how's that structured? What's the whole idea there? What do they need to bring?
Actually, they need to bring themselves. That's first and foremost, because we want to get to know the people we work with, and we want them to get to know us. And one of the most important things is that, what we need to bring to the table is our eyes and our ears. I want to talk with that individual, find out what they're looking for, get a little bit about their family history, their job history, when they do plan on retiring, how much they're going to need. And a lot of times clients don't bring anything to the first appointment. They just kind of bring themselves, and we talk. If they're welcome to bring, if they want to ask us what they should bring, that just speeds the process up. But it's not necessary. Our goal is to meet with them, build a relationship, because that's what we're looking for. We're looking at that long-term relationship, that we're going to see them periodically as the years go down, and we're kind of multi-generational and multifunctional. We're going to be there with their estate plan, their financial plan, look at their healthcare planning. We're going to bring in a CPA who's independent and works with us, who can look at their tax planning, make sure that, I don't mind paying taxes. I just don't want to pay more than I have to. And I feel the same way for my clients. So we want to make sure that and again, when we talked about that long-term care a while ago, the other thing is that we want to make sure that it's not just about them. If they're going to leave assets to their heirs, how much do they want of those assets that they leave to their heirs to go to Uncle Sam versus going to their heirs? Okay? Now, if you spell out the word HEIRS, heirs, if you don't watch out, the last 3 letters becomes your biggest heir.
That's right. Yeah. And that was one of my dad's thing before he passed away. He just wanted to make sure that we didn't, and that we can get into a long debate about, capital gains tax and things like that, and inheritance tax. And so, my dad used to always say, well, I pay tax on it already. Why should you have to pay tax on it? And that's, I think, a long debate we've had in this country.
It is.
And so I guess the strategy there, and I think what he used too, was some estate planning that helped you get around that. And we've had some estate planning attorneys on our show, and we've got some great people we can refer as well for that.
Well, and of course, they can come to our website too. In fact, one of our websites, on our website, one of the services we offer is estate services. If they'll click on there, it will talk about their estate plan, because we work with attorneys who do wills. And one of the interesting things with the will packages in the last few years is that I tell you, I'm going to save this for the next segment, okay? Because this is really good information on how to avoid probate with or without a trust.
Well, if you want to find out about that, make sure you stay tuned. Don't dial away. You're listening to Real Talk Texas on KLIF, AM 570, News and Information.